What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Sophisticated Man. Obviously, I haven't been super active on YouTube. I promise you, I'm not done. I got some stuff coming up. I just been really busy with Instagram and with TikTok. So, back at it with another podcast though, with another special guest today, Mr. Ryan Colucci. What's up, man?
What's up? How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good, man. Just on
Good.
opposite sides of the world today. We were just talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this. It's
yeah.
early for me, it's later for him.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because I'm all the way here in Australia, so it's, it's very hard to adjust the times with everyone. So, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, but we managed to make it work. So that's really all that matters.
yeah.
For the people that are wondering, just kind of briefly kind of introduce yourself, kind of talk about what it is that you do, how you
Mm.
help people, and kind of what you got going on.
Yeah, so I am a big advocate for mental illness, and I believe truly that, um, for me personally, I like to tell my story to the world, and just make it known that men's mental health is very important, and I think it's something that we tend to not speak about very often. We shy away from, and I believe that it's my sort of job to sort of bring that light and courage to men to be fearless and to be strong and to honestly not to sort of show that weakness, but to bring that weakness within and turn it into strengths, if you know what I mean. So obviously just making sure that those weaknesses, you turn every single weakness into a strength, and you just build upon that, and you just base your life around what you've inherited in here. And it just takes a long time to really process all those struggles and overcoming adversities and stuff like that. That's really what my mission is. So yeah,
I
that's
love
me, man.
that. Yeah, just kind of taking perceived weaknesses and turning them into strengths. So I
Yeah,
think that's dope. And really, it's kind of why I brought you on because the topic today is really revolving around mindsets, and how to have more, I guess, successful mindsets and it covers multiple different areas, like you said, with mental health, with
yeah,
fitness, obviously, with business success, even with relationships. So
yeah,
mindset, I think, is key to uh basically being successful in any one of those areas, if not ones that we didn't mention as well. So
yeah.
I'd love to start it there, kind of like talking about the importance of shaping your mindset, because I'm sure you have, some experiences with that as well. How
Absolutely. Yeah.
how important is that, to kind of have a good mindset with whatever it is you're trying to achieve?
Well, I believe that your mind is the most valuable asset in your life, because I think without it, um, you'll be lost. I think that the mind is the sense of direction. I think that if you can't control your mind, you know, you're not in control of your life, because this is the most powerful thing. Like it can either, be your best friend, or it can be your worst enemy, and you
Yeah.
got to make sure, like, okay, well, I got to find the balance, because there's always going to be times where there's going to be stuff coming in where it's like, okay, I want to come and attack you, or positive things, and it's just all about what you say to yourself, how you say things to yourself, and always having a sort of wise outlook on life. And I think that all comes from experience. So yeah, it all comes from experience, man. And don't let anyone tell you that, um, you know, struggle is bad. Feeling uncomfortable is not good, because I believe struggle is very important for a man's growth. And without it, it's how can you be a man? This is just, you can't. It's actually mentally and emotionally impossible, because you need to understand that life is not. When we're all young, we're all thinking, little kids, right? We all think life's handy dandy. It's all rainbows and everything like that. We're gonna live happy and nice lives, but at the end of the day, there's got to be something that's gonna go bang like that. And if you're not ready for it, right, life is gonna force you to become ready, and that's just the process of it. And without
Mhm.
it, yeah,
Yeah, dude, very, very much agree with you. And I want to make this clear to people listening, because I think that sometimes when we say this, people get the wrong impression. They think everything's going to be doom and gloom and like life sucks and like this is going to, what's the point and all that. I I want to kind of shed some light on that and say that that's not what we're saying. We're
Mm,
saying that you you need to seek out some kind of challenge, some kind of adversity to truly like kind of evolve into a more stronger, resilient, and characteristic version of yourself. So
exactly.
we're not saying that, oh, like you're screwed basically, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just like you're fucked.
Yeah.
You have to just seek this out because in modern times that we live in, I'm sure we all know this, things are very convenient, they're very easy, very comfortable, very quick. I mean even look at this, like we're on two different sides of the planet right now and we're able to connect through the internet. You know what I mean? It's just kind of
Exactly.
crazy, which
Yeah.
can be a good thing too. It could be a positive thing in society, which it is, but
Mm,
a lot of it, and that's where people start to abuse this convenience, this comfortable feeling, because now we can order food, we don't have to leave the house, we can get our groceries delivered to us, for fuck's sakes. Like it's just so
yeah.
easy that
Yeah.
that innate like masculine drive to go out, to want to hunt, to try to provide, it's not as strong as it used to be because
Mm,
these things are just given to us. So that's
yeah.
what I think Ryan was saying, and that's what I try to promote too on my channel, is
Mm,
not to think that, oh, the world's like against you and everything sucks and you need to be miserable forever. It's just
mm,
you have to have that temporary piece of pain or that temporary area of challenge to truly develop yourself into a man, because without it, like Ryan said, you're just going to end up being a little bit too timid, maybe passive.
mm,
You see that in a lot of feminized men these days. It's just they
yeah.
don't have that killer instinct.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah, and I do believe that most of the majority of the people in this world, men today, are more consumers rather than producers.
Yes.
I
Yep.
I believe that the more you consume, the more you become, this is, the more you become comfortable. So I always say, you don't get anything done, and you have to really figure out, okay, what are my priorities, right? Why am I wasting so much time? You got to figure out what are the things that are wasting your time, like this thing right here, right? And you got to figure out, yeah, I mean, it's everywhere.
Huge.
So, and I mean, everyone's just like looking at their phones like that. I see them all across the street. They're always like
Hmm.
glued to the screens. It's just like there's no sort of connection with people anymore. So I think that, I mean, the world is sort of, you know, getting, yes, I agree with you, getting too comfortable. And I think that, based on success, if a person doesn't take any risks, if a person is not willing to go the hard yards, is not willing to sacrifice, I think sacrifice is very, very important,
Hmm.
to go out and to actually make something of himself. It's very necessary. And I think that, it's all comes from willpower, all comes from confidence and fearlessness, which is, something that I promote. So it all comes from, like I said, the mind. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to tie it back to that too, because I think it really all starts in your mind and kind of
Mm,
having that belief in yourself and having that, that almost that iron sharpens iron kind of mentality of like going into things thinking, well, this is going to make me better. This is going to actually help me and give me more resources, more wisdom, knowledge, experience. That's kind of the mindset that at least I like to take going into challenging situations or adversity or whatever it is.
yeah.
I mean, that was the main reason I started entrepreneurship, because I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it's like literally, I've started it since 2018. I think I started making content and doing this. I mean,
Mm,
it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. Like, and there's nothing that comes close. So
yeah.
it literally had to like show me to myself what was I bad at? What were my weaknesses? What were
Mm,
the things that I needed to work on? And communication was one thing, content creation, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know how to
yeah.
network very well, didn't know how to coach people to my ability that I do now. It's just like it's funny because I think what people avoid, especially men, what they avoid in finding that adversity is they actually have to end up facing themselves, and they realize wow, I'm actually not good at this. And for a lot of people, that's too painful to even get to that point where they realize, damn, there is a discrepancy from here where I want to be and here. So
Mm,
even the awareness of it and knowing that they're not quite there is that mentality is too uncomfortable for some people.
mm. I believe, yeah. I mean, I think that I believe people need to really, the first step really is to understand that the truth matters. And if you hide away from the truth, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yep.
And so I knew basically when I was, dealing with all the uh, struggle, I'd say, look, what am I going to do? How am I going to get to, because I know I was just in my own body and I couldn't even move. Like it was just something that, can't even explain it, but
Mm,
it's something, it's just out of this world to really think that you're almost against the enemy, right? And so I always say, like, you know, I was overweight and stuff like that. I've been through many transformations. And I had to say to myself, either I'm going to do this or want to come out in the end, or just, just shy away and curl up and die. Like I don't, there's no, there's no choice. I can't,
all right.
can't sit there and say, oh, and this is another thing too, is victim. You can't be a victim.
Right.
I think that the main sort of tenet of masculinity is actually taking responsibility
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that, okay, well, your life at the moment, it seems pretty fucked up, but there's always a solution and there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And it just depends on how well you plan and how well you set the vision,
Mm.
right? And another thing you say is really people, I think what you're getting at is people who don't, or men who don't have a plan. And this
Yep.
is what I always promote this. Um, if you want to get somewhere, people think about the long-term goal. You have to think about, okay, the steps to get there. How strategic are those plans, right? How strategic that, what are you willing to do every single day? The habits, the systems. It's not just about goals anymore. Okay. You have to build
Mm-hmm.
systems, right? Because it's all habit, really.
Yeah.
Motivation can only take you so far. I believe discipline is the key. And, it's what all the champions had to really understand. And it's really crazy because everything all stems back from here. It's all passion, it's all purpose. And, I knew that I had to set a plan to get better. That was just the whole goal. Otherwise I'd be a victim and I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And I think that it's very important for people to know that you don't just stop when you've fallen down. You have to write something, a plan, right? Even if it's just like meditation, cold showers, all that stuff. There
Mm-hmm.
is so many ways to get better instead of just like popping a pill, right? You have to really deeply and analyze where you're at in life and don't bullshit yourself. Tell the truth. Look in the mirror and say, all right, I got to do this. This
Mm.
is this is it. Otherwise, I'm screwed. Pretty much. So
Yeah. I mean, I think some people look for that easy way out and they worry, they, like you said, they kind of just rely on something quick and easy, like, oh, I'll just take a pill, I'll solve all my problems. Or, I'll just order this thing, it's going to solve my problems. I'll go to this whatever, and it's just like they think it's going to just vanish. This things that they're going through is going to just go away. And you might be able to temporarily, I think, put a band-aid over it and maybe just kind of cover it up, but ultimately you're not getting to the root and to the thing that is truly causing that pain or that discomfort or that, you know quote unquote disorder or whatever you have. um
mm,
I think a lot of it is, again, I'm not saying it's all in your mind, but a lot of it is mental when it comes to just thinking about any possible solutions that you can do. I know for
yeah,
me, um one of the things I kind of thought about growing up was, I was very like awkward around people. I didn't know how to like socialize. And I could have easily said, well, I'm just socially awkward. I'll go to therapy and then that'll fix my issues. I'm good. But I didn't. I didn't go that route. I just ended up getting clear with who I was, knowing
Mm,
about social dynamics, started to understand it more once I got into like college, end of college. And then I understood just how to communicate better, how to get my point across, how to be more confident in myself. And I definitely wasn't where I'm at now, but just learning how to do that is it was a skill. It's a skill that I had to develop. So I
mm,
agree 100%. I think it's a lot of that stuff is in your control, and you just have to realize what is in your control and then set up a plan. I'm reading the book right now, Atomic Habits, and that's exactly what James Clear talks about. It's like it's not so much the habits themselves, it's the systems that you create. And we
mm.
fall to the level of our systems. So if we have a bad system for generating income, for example, or for generating business or whatever, you're gonna fall to that because that's your default. And if you have a bad system, you're always gonna fail. So you have to find a way to tweak it so it works for you instead of
Mm.
actually, screwing you up.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
wanted to I wanted to dive into what you said a minute ago because I think that's such an important piece to what we're talking about. You said something about um what did you exactly say? You said something about guys shifting their mentalities about um
The
if they're
responsibility.
responsibility, yes, but I forget exactly what you said, but you were basically talking about urgency, like a sense of urgency that guys have of like doing it now, not waiting a month or a year or weeks down the line,
Yeah.
realizing that your time is limited. I mean, we obviously have long lives and things happen, but we really don't have, like, if you really think about it, we really don't have a ton of time. I mean, once you get older, I'm starting to realize this now. Like, I'm 27. It
Yeah.
wasn't too long ago where I was in high school thinking to myself, oh man, when I'm 25, I'm 26, I'm gonna have it all figured out. I'm gonna have a wife, I'm gonna have kids, I'm gonna have like all
Mm.
this stuff. Now that I'm here, I'm just like, holy shit, like I'm not even close to that. So there's a sense of urgency that I think needs to happen when you're achieving your goals or you're trying to build whatever you're trying to build. So
Mm.
we could talk about that for a second, maybe like how critical is that piece of urgency to start getting the things you want.
Well, just I would say it just depends on really finding out, like you said about, your why, right?
Yeah.
Everyone says, what is your why? Right. And your why determines on the urgency of where and how you're going to get to your goals and the time period that you want to get to them.
Mm,
Because I always say there's always within the strategic plan, there's always a certain, you know, habit that you have to pick up for a certain period of time. And, there's always smart goals that short term, right? Short term, right? And before you even set the plan, you have to understand, all right, well, why? Why are you doing what you have to do? Why are you doing what you want to do? Why are you doing these things? Right. And it's just mainly because, like you said, peeling, there's always the core individual, right? And you have to peel until you get to the actual core of the
mm,
person. There's so much things, there's so much armor. And I'm not saying there's sort of it's more like a shield people sort of protect themselves from. So it's like people trying to fit in with others, people who are taking up other people's aspirations and goals, and not really figuring out, okay, what do you want? Right? What do you want?
mm,
And why do you want it? Right. It can be as simple as you just want to attract girls. It can be as simple as you just want to buy your mother a house. Right. Those simple things, I think that, and I think the mindset that I have now is really just about, okay, well, there's going to be some hard times coming up. And the quote, like you said, that's been going around, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And now we're on to this cycle now. Hard times create strong men. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's gonna be some shit hitting the fan. So I have to really think, okay, well, if I need to get the goals done, if I need to make sure everyone's protected, I need to start now. Right. I
mm,
need to get my finances in check now. I need to start building my physique now. I need to start attacking my goals now, because if you're not secured in that, then it's going to be very, very hard. And, things are going to get harder. And, that's just the truth of it, because we're in that time period now. So my mindset is just urgency, right? It's more like a survival type thing. It's not just about, going after your goals. It's great. It's more like, I have to do this. Like I cannot stop. I can't stop, because I've got people who rely on me. I'm relying on myself to get things done, right? And if I don't get them done, it's either, I get them done now, or I just, like you said, the days are going to keep going. The sun's always going to shine in the morning. And it's like, do I really want to live a life of regret when I'm 90 or 80 or however long I live? So it's like, and that's the worst feeling to me, is the regret. Terrible, terrible feeling, terrible feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be right, like a good motivator for people is having that, not wanting to live with regret, because there's a
Mm.
lot of men that I know who, for example, find my content a little bit too late. And I'm not even saying it's late for them. It's all relative, but
Mm.
later in terms of like they're 40, 50 years old, and they always tell me the same thing. Oh man, I wish I saw your content 20 years ago, or I wish I saw this 30 years ago. And
Yeah.
they get to that point in their life where, I mean, in their minds, they think that they're done, like it's over. And really it's not. I mean, you could start
Yeah.
at 50, you could start at 60 and still, still get your shit turned around. But
Mm.
it's kind of knowing that in the back of your mind, I don't want to be this person who finds something and I'm like, man, I wish I had this 20 years ago. I wish I knew this 15, 20 years ago. You want to
Mm.
be able to do that right now while you can, while you're able to, especially
Yeah.
while you're young. It's more important when you're young, I think, to kind of
Yeah.
have this mentality, um, and start thinking this way, because a lot of people treat their 20s, and I'm just like kind of nearing the end of my 20s and starting to realize just the people that are in my peer group. I'm not saying
Mm.
all of them, but a lot of people, like a vast majority, they just kind of do the same things. They go hang out with their buddies on the weekend, they get shit-faced drunk, they
Mm.
chase a bunch of girls around, and it's like it's on repeat. It's the same thing all the time. And the thing that kills me is like, well, you're doing the things that the average person does. Don't
Mm.
complain when you get average results, because that's like the only thing that you're doing. And if I had to give anybody advice out there of guys who are maybe like early 20s or just entering their 20s now, I would say
Mm.
don't waste this opportunity that you have to just build yourself up, to really build your skill set. If that means that you can't go out with your buddies on the weekend and drink every night, then you're
Mm.
gonna, again, it goes back to what you were saying before. You have to sacrifice that, because there's things that naturally requires more attention, and it's going to be more important than just screwing your liver every weekend. There's going to be things that you have to put as a higher priority, and it does come back to knowing your why and knowing the reason that you're doing these things, and
Mm.
what it's going to give you. Like looking at the payoff, it's like, well, this sucks right now, but ultimately in 10, 15 years, you're gonna literally like skyrocket your growth, and everybody that was in your around you is going to be wondering, how did you do that? How did Ryan do that? How did Tino do that? But it's like, well, you see what I'm doing every day. You see what I'm doing on the weekends. I'm not really wasting too much time. I'm focused and I'm
Mm.
consistent. And there's no secret. Like everybody thinks that there's a secret to it. It's just
No secret.
sacrificing the things that don't matter and focusing on the things that do.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah. I was gonna
there's no
say,
crazy thing.
no, I was gonna say, like, time is actually one of your sort of motivators, like one of your best assets as well.
Yeah.
I always talk about mine, but time is very, very, very valuable when you use it the right way. And
Yep.
I just always think to myself, okay, well, instead of drinking and partying and hanging out with losers and chasing girls, it's like, well, which one's more replaceable? Like, which one's more replaceable? Those
Yeah.
things or your time? Your time is not replaceable. You need
Right.
to understand that this is a scarcity thing. Like, time is only going to be with you like once, right? There's only one day, there's only one year where you can get stuff done within that certain time frame, and you're never going to get those years back. So I mean, once you get to a top status individual, you can do all those other things, right?
Yep.
There's so much time to do all those other things. You actually attract the people that you want to attract, and everything comes to you. But time is very, very limited in this lifetime, and I think that, like you said, it goes by very, very quick.
Hmm.
And if you don't know how to develop that mindset now, it's going to be very, very hard to really, like I said, living with regret is it's a terrible thing. Um, it's never too late for anyone. But like I said, you don't want to have that in the back of your mind going all day, and it sort of like makes you cringe a little bit. It makes me cringe thinking about that, visioning myself at 70 years old, thinking, oh, never started that business. It's like you make these promises, these small promises to yourself. You have to tell yourself, okay, well, you know, will I die a man of my word? That's just how it is, right? Will I die achieving everything that I said I was going to achieve, right? Especially with the things that I've been through, the suffering wasn't for nothing. And if I die not achieving, the things that I suffered for, then really what was the point of living? That's the mentality. So that's why you have to constantly push yourself, right? If push yourself to collab with people, push yourself to take risks. It's very, very important, because the more you do that, the less your regret levels will go down, your confidence will go higher, and it's just it's a win-win. You become stronger. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's well put. It's like a natural trade-off. You're
yeah,
doing something that's uncomfortable, that sucks, that you don't feel confident in, but as a
mm,
result, after doing it, you gain confidence, you gain experience, you gain wisdom or resources. Like it's a natural kind of trade-off.
yeah,
So you have to, yeah, it does come back to knowing exactly what you're doing and why, like why it's so important.
yeah.
Um, I wanted to also touch on what you were talking about before, like the dichotomy of like time and money, because that's something it was an interesting video I saw the other day. This guy was talking about that exact same thing. Like everybody complains, like, oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time. And those two things, I mean, you could argue those are the two most valuable things like in life is
Yeah,
resources and your time. I mean, I'd say time is probably number one, right?
yeah, 100%.
So he was saying that people that complain about money, this is, oh, I don't have a lot of money right now. I'm broke. Well, what do you have? Probably have more time. So you can
Mm,
trade your time for dollars, at least in the beginning, to start to get some revenue, to save up some cash flow, save up some capital. So that way, when you have enough money, you can now buy back your time where
exactly.
you could
Yeah.
literally invest in a coach, a mentor, businesses. You can invest in people to delegate things so you don't have to do it yourself. Like you can, once you have enough money, now you can buy back you have more time. Because I think it's
Mm,
funny because like the people that have a lot of money, one thing that they always say is like, I just wish I had more time. They don't care about having more money. I mean, some of them do, but they really just want more time to spend how they want. And I think that's an interesting dynamic where you can have a lot of one thing and then lack in another, but people don't realize how you can use both to almost kind of give you the other one, which is interesting, I find.
yeah, that's it's very interesting, and I think um, another habit that people should really understand is scheduling. Is
Scheduling, oh
actually
my
yeah, oh my God, knowing how to
God.
schedule. People don't schedule. People don't do, I mean, to-do lists. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to
Yep.
maximize your time. There's so many people to collab with, connect with that, and people don't do that because they think, like I said, I mean, it stems from the core of the person as well. Like we go back to the core, maybe they don't think they can make it. Maybe how they've grown up,
Mhm.
negativity, the self-talk.
Yep.
So, look, there's always going to be, with time, with money, you need to make sure those are combined together, because you can always buy back time. You just have to, you know, work hard now, right? Take action now and have the plan. The plan is so important. I cannot stress this enough. It's very, very important to have. Otherwise, you're just going to drift around, you know, no purpose. You're just on a
Mhm.
boat sailing. It's just, it's really just, there's no point.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the results that you want. That's just, how life is. And, you got to just, you're going to have to deal with that. But what you have to do now is just really figure out, okay, well, yes, what are you meant to do? Like, find out what you're good at. Even if it's the smallest things, find out what you're good at and just build upon that. And all your resources will come in, your time. You can buy back time anytime later on. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
It's so funny because the things that we're talking about, it's not like earth-shattering, like science breaking information. I mean, this stuff is out there,
yeah, cool.
scheduling, like
Yeah.
goal setting,
Mm.
discipline, consistency. Like these things are not incredibly nuanced. I mean, they're things have been around forever, and
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
people make it more complicated than it really is. It's like
Mm.
literally, even with scheduling, like that was one of the things that I was just terrible at for the longest time of my life. Didn't know how to schedule my time out. Still not the best at it, but I'm a lot better than I was 5 or 6 years ago. And
Yeah.
it's literally the first thing I do with my clients is when I sign up a new client, I tell them download Google Calendar, get your schedule set up, and that's the first thing that we do is figuring out how to implement, your time blocks, because I think people just let that get away from them and they think, oh, well, I'm stuck playing video games for 4 hours and then my whole day is gone. It's like, well,
Exactly.
what else did you plan on doing that day? Did you have certain tasks that you wanted to do? When
Mm.
did you plan on starting them? So that's kind of a follow up to the plan is having a deadline, like giving yourself that hard time to like, this is when I'm going to start. This is when, I'll be done with this thing. It's like,
Mm.
I think people have a negative, at least in the West here in school systems.
Yeah.
I know this was my experience. People have a negative association with deadlines. Cause like when we're in school, teachers tell us, hey, like here's a deadline for your exam, here's a deadline for the test, make sure you do it. And what do we all do? We cram the night before, try to get
Yeah.
all the information in, jot up.
Yeah.
I remember like multiple papers where I just busted one out the day before, waited, it was like two
Oh,
weeks in advance, waited to the
yeah.
last minute, did it all on my computer and then handed it in. And some people treat the same mentality to their goals. They think, oh, well, I'll do it last minute. I can put it off. Doesn't matter. And even worse, some people don't even have a deadline for their goals. They just kind of say, well, I'm going to get in better shape. Okay.
Yeah.
When?
Hell.
Like
Hell.
when are you going to start doing that? What day are you going to start going to the gym? What day are you going to start working on your nutrition? How are you going to track that? So
Mm.
there's just a lot that goes into goal setting and scheduling and having it kind of work in a cohesive kind of system, like we were talking about, things that
Mm.
work and build off of each other. um so yeah, it's very it's easy, it's simple, but it's not easy because people make it harder than it really is.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, I mean, we hear this stuff all the time, like you said. Um, I mean, nothing's different. I mean, it's all simple things. I think people, and I always try this, I always, with the things that we say, we always try to make it different. Like,
Yeah.
try to, we always try to find ways to make, you know, what we
More
say
interesting.
more sparky, but like, it's just like you hear it so many times, but people don't actually take it into consideration. I mean, I've put things on my story for so long, people would pay attention to it, and then people just like, drift off. There's just like until you see results, until people see your results, then that's when it's like, okay, I have to do this. So I do believe that inspiring people is a definite must.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, we hear these things all the time, but we sort of take it for granted and we don't really pay close attention to it because I mean, it's the simple things really lead to the biggest results. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
small details matter. And that's, I think Lombardi said that. Coach Lombardi back in the day said the small details, they matter. Or I'm probably butchering that quote, but he said
Yeah.
something about small things, they pay off in big wins eventually, which is just like incredibly true.
Mm,
The small things that you might not think are a big deal end up, it could completely change your day, and it can completely
yeah.
change your week or month if you let it. Like for example, I know a couple weeks ago for me, I ended up sleeping late because I stayed up and I was like eating some snacks. I was watching a movie, didn't really think about it. And I ended up staying up since until like, 1 a.m. or 1:30, just like super late. And I
Mm,
generally don't really do that anymore. So I
yeah.
stayed up late that one time, and then I woke up late because I stayed up late and I was tired and I wanted to sleep in. And then because I slept in, I missed the gym. And because I missed the gym, I had to cram everything. I had to get my business reach outs in. I felt like I was behind on everything. And it's like
Yeah.
a domino effect where one little thing out of whack could screw up the whole freaking routine. And now you
Exactly.
have to basically start back from ground zero and work your way back to building that momentum, which is why like I stress to my clients and just to the people that I just talk to in life that like you might think that you're good. Oh, I had a week, I had 2 weeks, I had a good month, and they think that they're done. And it's
Mm,
like you're just starting. Like you think 1 month is great. I mean, that's awesome. 30 days, you did it. Congratulations. Now you
exactly.
have to
Yeah.
keep that going. And I almost like fell to that myself. There was a time where I think it was back in June, I believe, where I set a challenge for myself. I was going to say, all right, I'm going to post every single day for 30 days on
Mm,
Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and I'm going to just do it for 30 days. And I got to the end of the 30 days and I was like, well, I can't stop now. Like I'm getting so much momentum and traction from that. I'm going to keep going. So I did it for
mm,
another month, and I'm doing it for 30 or 60 days. And the 60 days comes, I'm like, well, I can't just quit. Like I got to keep going. So I did it for
yeah.
another month. So I did it for 90 days. And then when I got to the end of 90, I ended up making tweaks in the plan because I was like, all right, I'm not gonna prioritize YouTube as much as I am Instagram and on TikTok because I have different goals. But
Yeah.
kind of like I was saying in the beginning of this, like I'll get back to making YouTube videos, guys. Don't worry. But
He will.
they're
Yeah.
coming back. But my point was I got to the end of that 90 days and I was like, shit, I should take a break. I should take a week off because we were going to, we're taking a family vacation. And I remember telling my brother this. I was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna not post this week, and I'm gonna enjoy the trip that we're on and just have fun. And
Mm.
I'm thankful for him because he literally called me out. He's like, why the fuck are you stopping? I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I want to relax. I want to be on vacation. I want to be worried about business. And he's like, dude, you've made so much. It's like you've been in this momentum for 3+ months, and you really want to stop now and just screw the algorithm up, and then have to start back over and like lose all that consistency that you had. And like he just like kept telling me this, and I was like, damn, maybe I don't want to stop. So I ended up literally posting on vacation. Now I wasn't like on my phone the whole time. I did it in advance. I got everything done. I made all my posts and my edits ahead of time. So when I was on vacation, all I had to worry about is just pressing upload and it was done. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that he was, able to kind of punch me in the face a little bit and tell me, hey, don't stop. Like you're still going, you're still doing stuff. And he's the same way. He has his own business. He's a barber, and he was even on the trip. He was doing his own thing. Like he was working on his post, his content. And I'm not gonna be the one who's not doing something. If he's working and I'm like sitting over here like jerking off, like I'm not gonna just sit here and not do anything. So
Yeah.
it's maybe that could be another piece that we talk about as well, like having people like that in your corner, like having good, solid, especially men, like good, strong, consistent, disciplined, just guys with the right mindset in your corner to push you when you want to like give yourself a break or take it easy on yourself or like sugarcoat some things that you don't want to look at. Like how important is that to have guys that are just solid, that are just, in your group of friends.
Yeah, no, that's very important. I think brotherhood is the key. I mean, because teamwork is very, very powerful, if you use the right way. And if you honestly trust people, like if you've been
Yeah.
through shit together, you know, like you've grown together, your weaknesses, your strengths, and this is the thing, you have to build together. You have to build respect for each other. And I think you automatically attract people when you're on the same, when you're honestly putting yourself out there. You're meeting people every day on the socials, so I mean that's what I'm trying to do now. I mean, I'm meeting everyone from different fitness, fitness player, accounts and stuff like that. And even just leaving a comment, you
Hmm.
know a positive comment leaves a positive impact on their lives. So
Yeah.
I think that's very powerful, and it's very, very important to have, because I think that there's so much hate in this world today, where
Hmm.
people, it's just like victimhood. It's like
Yep.
negative, negative, negative. There's more negative than positive, and we have to sort of spread the light a bit more. Yeah.
Hmm.
So brotherhood's very important. Yeah. So it's very, very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really key, to have good guys in your network, guys that can push you. Because kind of bringing it back to what we said before about, going out and drinking on the weekends and doing the same things all the time. A lot of the times, the friends that we have that do that are always going to be doing that, and they're always going to be stuck in that loop instead of
Mm,
trying to achieve more and push themselves. And that's not a slight. That's just it's just reality. I've seen
mm,
it so many times, and I was one of them at one point. Like I used to go out all the time on the weekends. There was a point where I went out pretty much every single weekend. And we went to a bar. Now I didn't get blackout drunk every time, but
mm,
I still went out and I still did things on the weekends. And I've just seen it so many times where guys get caught up in that and they lose themselves, they lose their focus because they're so worried about one thing. I
one
gotta
thing.
smash this girl, man. I got to get
Yeah.
this girl. I got to get this girl's attention. I got to make sure she likes me. I got to talk to the hottest girl in the bar. And it's so funny because, so I'll give another personal story. So I
Mm,
see guys like that and they go out and they chase girls all day long and they think that they're going to somehow get lucky. That's why they call it getting lucky because you're literally just betting on chance. You're not really, you don't have an established
yeah,
foundation,
yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
So I come in, right? And I already have a foundation. I'm already building this business. I'm focused on myself. I'm not worried about really anything else. I simply go out with the intention to just hang out with my friends, enjoy myself a little bit. I don't really like to drink. So I'll just go
Mm,
out and maybe have a beer or have like a quick mixed, like one mixed drink. I don't drink that much. And I've seen this countless times where I've been out and I've had the things that I have now, like the discipline and all that, and the girls will literally come up to me. I'm not even trying to actively go seek out anyone, but they
mm,
see that I generally don't I don't care. Like I'm just there to just enjoy myself. Where guys who actively have the mindset of like I'm here literally just to meet women, and then when they talk to them, it comes off creepy and it comes
mm,
off as weird because you're just focused so much on them,
mm.
they get like turned off by that. And
Exactly.
it's such a weird kind of flip. I guess now we're talking about like dating stuff and relationships,
Yeah.
but even that kind of comes back to mindset and knowing that like I'm here just because I'm enjoying my life. Like I'm not trying to look for something, because I think what happens is guys, they do that and they try to like find all these women and they think that I'm missing something, so I need this to make me feel better. But
Yeah, it's the void. It's the feeling.
it's a difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's a different vibe, it's a different feeling when, and it doesn't even have to be a bar. It could be anywhere in life. It could be just out in public somewhere. When you're
Mm,
there because you generally just like being there and you're not caught up in I need to find something.
mm.
Usually what you want finds you. It's
Yeah.
such a crazy like shift.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think that, you know, before you start looking for, look, there's certain relationships, they should be the last thing on your mind, right?
Yeah.
I'm only 19 and I'm not really thinking about that stuff.
Right.
I do have some knowledge about it though, because it's good to sort of prep yourself up because, you're 19, you're going into the modern world now. So it's going to be a bit crazy. So
Right.
um, it's going to get a bit crazy. But, you know, like I said, the void thing is very important because if you go into life and you want the validation from someone, especially as a man. I think it applies more to men.
Hmm.
It's you come across as insecure, needy. It's sort of like you need that, mummy's power sort of thing. You need to,
Yeah.
you need that, but this is, how before you even think about relationships, you have to think about, okay, this comes back from like the mental illness story as well, right? If you're not mentally prepared, if you're not mentally well, if you're not mentally stable in control of your life and wealth and stuff like that, and you actually have a purpose, then there's no point in doing that because you're just going to waste time. Because I think women in general, they actually sense, they're very smart at sensing the small things that
Yeah.
when a guy's on their purpose, it's sort of like the aura. The
Hmm.
aura is different, and you just can't. Like I can't even like think about like going up. Like there's different like things. Like I can't even explain it. It's just female nature. It's
Hmm.
aura. It's aura that's different, and so I think that it's really really goes to show that it's very very important to you know change how you view life. And and like I saw this quote the other day as well. It talks about like, well, because there was this guy who was with his fiance, and it's not about relationships, about marriage, but this ties back into like just going after relationships.
Hmm.
Like I said, what's more replaceable, the business, the time you have, or the girls come later when you
Yep.
got everything sorted. And it's just very important. I think people just waste too much time. And at the end of the day, in the modern world today, women can be very sort of hypergamous. So I mean, the standards are sort of getting higher for
Hmm.
men to be men, and I don't blame them because men need to be men.
Right.
That's it's not just, and I think a lot of guys who say blame women for all their problems and stuff like that and why they're not getting anything, they have to take some accountability,
Yeah.
because you got to see yourself where you are at now. You know, are you the person who's going to attract the high quality woman? You
Hmm.
know, the, and I think the void thing, it's very, very important to understand that, you have to start off with you, because how are you gonna protect or provide for a woman if you don't know how to provide for you? You
Hmm.
know, that's just something, you gotta have to keep that in mind. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Well, I agree like 100%. And I wanted to touch on that for a sec because I think that some of the guys in the manosphere here, we talk about like, oh, women are delusional in dating. They have such high standards and this and that,
Mhm.
which, to a point is very true.
Yeah,
But
it's very
some of the guys that complain about that, I deserve a 10 out of 10. I deserve the best woman possible. But then, like, you put the mirror back at them, they're overweight, they're out of shape, they don't make any
Mhm.
money, they have no resources, they're not following a purpose, they don't know how to communicate, they're sitting playing video games in their mom's basement. It's like, you deserve a 10? Why?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what
yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah,
you what makes
yeah,
you a guy that feels like he deserves a high quality woman? Are you a high quality guy?
yeah.
And
Goes
most of the
both
time,
ways.
the answer is
Yeah,
no. And
yeah.
it's so true what you're saying about starting with yourself because again, guys fall into this trap of like, well, I got to say this line, I got to wear this certain type of clothing, I got to like do this certain tactic or strategy.
Mhm.
I'm such an anti pickup artist type of guy. Like, I hate that stuff so much because
Mhm.
it's literally just performing. I don't know if you've ever read the book Models by Mark Manson.
Yeah, I've heard of that book. Yeah.
He talks about this a lot where you're basically
Like,
just putting, yeah, you're
yeah.
putting on an act because you read a line in a book or you saw something on YouTube and you thought, well, he approached her like this, like let me do it like that. And then you might be able to fool the girl temporarily, but it's like it's like what you said before too. Girls have this crazy sixth sense when it comes to like dissecting bullshit, and they know when a guy is just on
Yeah.
his like he's really about his life or he's not. Like she knows,
Yeah.
man. You don't have to put on any act. And if you're ever going into relationships without that foundation, without
Mm,
that solid base to stand on, I mean, this is like it's important for women too, but it's even more important, I would argue, for men to have
mm,
this. Like if you're ever thinking, I need to date this girl, I need to whatever, and you don't have anything like going for yourself, you're not ready. You're just
mm,
not ready. You might be able to temporarily attract her. You might be able to get her for a month or a couple months because you're performing pretty well. You know what, you know the right things to say. But when it comes to the long-term relationship and like
mm.
actually maintaining that
Yep.
polarity over time, there's
Mm,
gonna come a point where you mess this up. And I'm only saying this because I've been there where I've had, girls in my life at one point and I had nothing going on. I didn't know who I was, didn't know about masculine energy, didn't know about polarity, didn't know about frame or, dynamics or purpose. I had nothing. I was starting from zero, right? And I had this girl that I was dating. We weren't even really dating. We were just kind of like involved, but not, it was a weird situation. But
yeah.
either way, during that time, like, yeah, in the beginning, she was really attracted to me and I said the right things. I was reading a dating book. So I kind of knew a little bit about dynamics, but
Mm,
I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have things that I was building or working on. Now, what eventually happens, she ends up becoming a little bit more in her masculine because she senses the guy is not in his masculine. So she has to
mm,
take on that role now and has to be a little bit more, guys say there she's manly or she gets bitchy or she gets whatever because she senses that there's something in you that's
mm,
lacking or it's not completely developed quite yet. And that's where that polarity switch happens. And guys get a little bit too needy, a little bit too passive, a little bit too, they end up becoming the feminine ones, and the girls
mm,
end up becoming more masculine. And she has no idea what's happening. She just senses like, I don't know what it is. I just don't feel a spark anymore. There's no, they call it, I don't feel any chemistry anymore. Well, it's
mm,
because, yeah, the polarity's jacked up. You're the one taking charge, and the guy is just like driving back seat. He's not even the leader anymore. And that's what
mm,
usually happens when you don't have that foundation, like that base of a man. Because if you
mm,
don't, she's gonna end up losing attraction over time. It's just how it happens.
mm. Yeah, I mean, purpose is sort of like a safety thing for a woman. You
Yeah,
know, women
exactly.
really, a woman really wants to. I mean, the whole primary thing that a woman needs is survive and to be protected. So, and I think that a man who has a purpose, a man who's in shape, a man who's getting his shit together has more of a chance to sort of grow and survive in a dangerous world that we live in now. And it's very important to have those resources. It's very, very, very important to have the mindset, because life is very beautiful, but the world in itself, it can be very, very dangerous. So,
Mm.
I mean, I don't blame him. And, so I would say to everyone, like all the guys, just to take some responsibility because I do
Yeah,
see some of the red pill guys that I watch on YouTube, like used to watch on YouTube. It's sort of like sure. So there's some points that I actually take in mind, like,
sure.
and the thing is, like, there's got to be this, first I want to say there's some points that you take in mind, some points where you could just, okay, I'll accept that and I'll, put into my practicing of life and go ahead and have the wisdom. And there's
Hmm.
something I don't agree on, and I just
Yep.
discard them, right? And I think too many people get caught up with, um, you know, focusing completely, agreeing with the person completely and fucking up sometimes, and just
Become sheep.
disagreeing. Yeah, and disagreeing with the person and becoming like a hater.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I do see some of the red pill guys who talk about all this stuff and sort of like they come off as victims. Like it's very, very, and that's just the thing. It's responsibility. It all ties back. I think responsibility is very, very powerful, um, and it really just, you have to be careful with how much you express, uh, your victim mentality, because you can say things in public and may come off as, can come off as weak sometimes,
Mm.
so, and so responsibility is key. You make no excuses. Everything that's in your control is in your control, and you got to fix it. And that's just how life is. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's facts, man. I think
yeah,
really that, you know, that really makes a man. I think like people ask what a man is. I mean, it's just
mm,
guys that a man is like a guy that has responsibilities and you take on challenges, you take on things to reinforce the things that you're taking care of. Like you take care of something. If it could be a business, it could be a relationship, a dog, like I don't care what it is, it's something. So
yeah,
I think like that to me is what makes um masculinity in essence is just being that protector, that provider, in some shape or form. And it's not always monetary. I think guys get that confused. They think, well,
mm,
I have to have $1 million to have a wife or a girlfriend. Like, no, you don't. You just
mm,
have to have the ability to have resources, to have like when shit hits the fan, can you get yourself out of that situation?
yeah,
That's what people look
very,
for.
very, yeah,
That's what women look for, especially like when things happen. Can you guide both of them into safety, into something that's going to work? Do you have a plan? Do you have things that you're doing that um, can navigate this problem? Can you create a solution from it? The worst thing that you can do as a man is complain and just
mm,
bitch and just complain about your problems and just be like, oh well, this sucks. What's gonna happen? What's going on? And then like complaining literally is doing nothing. You're just sitting there
yeah,
and just kind of
wasting
sulking
it.
in your own pity. Yeah, wasting your own time. Find a solution because most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, there is something that you can do. There is a solution to it. You're just not paying attention to it. And I think a
Mm,
lot of that comes from you got to train your mind. You got to train your mind to look for solutions, not for problems first.
mm, yeah, positivity comes first. Exactly. And the truth matters. You got to tell yourself the truth. It all comes back from look yourself in the mirror, tell yourself the truth. Be accountable. It's very important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
BS yourself. You have to be real because
Exactly,
that's
bro.
something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that a lot of people do. I definitely have in the past where we kind of we end up lying to ourselves more than we lie to other people, which is the worst kind. Or the
Yeah.
worst kind of lies because then you lie to yourself. I don't know how you're ever going to trust your word. You have to build that trust back up. So yeah, if you're gonna be truthful with anything, first be truthful with yourself and face reality and kind of know where you're at in life and where you want to be. And then work on it. It's all mindset. It's all literally just effort and discipline and consistency and doing all the things that we talked about today on this podcast. So if you can do that and really focus up on something and have a purpose, have something that you're building. It could be a business, it could be a family, it could be a model airplane. Like you have to be working on something.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't have to be content like Ryan and like I am doing. It could be anything. Just make it unique to yourself. Um, and then
Find your
find what
why.
that is and go for it. Because if you're not, yeah, like one thing I'll say and kind of end it here, and then maybe we can get some like final thoughts is a
Mm,
man that, and I love this. I think Dre Dreckler said this. He might have got it from somebody too, but he
yeah.
said a man that doesn't have purpose always distracts himself with pleasure. So
Mm,
got to get those priorities straight.
exactly. Exactly. 100%. I agree with you on that one. Yeah. Pleasure is the killer to all men. I think that, it or like just gives a sense of just discomfort. You need to go out and take risks, because
Yep.
that's what increases testosterone. That is what boosts your confidence. That's what, boosts your mood. And this is what I've been saying. Otherwise you end up in the ball and you're just like agitated and you're comparing yourself with other people. And I think that comparing
Yep.
yourself with other people is very detrimental to your mental health. So, and the social media doesn't help either. So,
No.
but social media, there's pros and cons to it, but
Yeah.
you got to make sure, you know, be aware of what, you know, be aware of your life.
Yep.
Be aware of what you have in control. Be aware of the people you surround yourself with, the habits that you inherit,
Mm-hmm.
and learn how to, if you know that something's fucked up in your life, take action. So
Mm-hmm.
have a plan.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree, man. I think that's a great way to kind of segue into the closing statements here, dude. I agree. I think that kind of wraps up everything that we said about mindset, and really it all does come back to that. Everything
Mm,
that we said is all mentality and like thinking about, do you really deserve the things that you want in life? Do you feel like you deserve them? Do you actually think that you can attain them? Um, all of it is mentality. All of it is thinking that you can get yourself out of any situation, you can make anything better in your life. And it's just
yeah.
looking for the solutions, finding a way out instead of finding a way instead of finding a way out. That's
Yeah.
that's a much better solution oriented mindset, to really get anything you want. So uh, yeah. Any closing statements, Ryan, before we kind of finish up things?
No, I just want to say, everyone, just go out and inspire people and help people. I think that, gives you the best sense of, um, positive vibe and, confidence in yourself, and just, build yourself. There's always time. There's always room for improvement,
Hmm.
and but keep growing stronger.
Yeah, exactly. In
Yeah,
every way,
in
mentally,
every way.
emotionally, physically, financially, just get stronger in everything, and you'll be good. So
Yeah,
yeah, man, I think that's an awesome way to close it out. Obviously, guys, like the video, comment down below, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Ryan, if people want to find out more about you and what you got going on, where can they find you on social media?
yeah. They can find me on Instagram at Ryan_Colucci. I can put it down in the bio. Um, but yeah, I mean, my YouTube channel, I put it in there too. But it's just, if you want to, join me on this journey, and I mean, I'm going to tell the mental health story, and I know that I truthfully believe that I'm going to make it big, and inspire the world. That's the plan. So, and you and me both, we got missions, we got things to do, and there's no time to wait. Get started now. Yeah. So,
Absolutely, man. Yeah, no
well,
time to wait, man. We're just on this mission right now, and we got things to do. So I'll leave all of Ryan's things down below if you guys want to check him out. I'll leave his links down below as usual. Obviously, you know where to find me. If
yeah,
you want to work with me personally, I have those links down below as well.
yeah,
And again, guys, I promise you, I will make videos again on YouTube. I'm not giving up on that. I just haven't had a lot of time to dedicate to doing that. But I will come back to the long form types of videos, on my channel. I just been prioritizing Instagram and TikTok, and go make sure you follow me on there too, because that's where I'm putting out all my stuff anyway. So I appreciate Ryan for hopping on the call.
yeah,
It was an awesome conversation. I think we covered a lot of great things. As always, run this back a couple times because there was a ton of information in here, and you're
yeah.
gonna want to take some notes. Trust me, there's a lot of things that you probably missed the first time. So check it out a couple times if you have to. And
Mm.
yeah, I think you'll be solid, man. I appreciate you, Ryan.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, man. Good talking with you.
100%, man. All right, guys. Well, we're going to bounce. We got stuff to do, and let's have a kick ass week. And I'll see you next time.
Live
Peace.
to inspire.
Absolutely.